Well, this segment I have been wanting to do for quite a while. Bill Lawson, the executive director of the Mahoning Valley Historical Society, in October, you host Oak Hill Cemetery tours.
That is correct.
And we have a lot of historical figures here, but this
Yes.
year you're really going to concentrate on the architecture of the different grave sites.
The architecture of the whole cemetery, what the symbolism is of the various monuments, and the style of the mausoleums that we have here in the cemetery. So yes, we're going to look at it from a design standpoint and maybe talk a little history while we're at it too. Here you have a very interesting topography. It goes uphill to the south from downtown. You have almost a ravine here in the middle of it, and then another rise up on the north end of the cemetery. Now part of that is just, it's very scenic, but part of it too is if the farmer, Dr. Henry Manning, who owned all of this land at one time, this is probably his least desirable land because of the knobs and be very hard to till and to have pastures and whatnot on it. So he was willing to sell it to the cemetery.
Harry Burt, very famous man.
Yes.
You're in his digs now.
We have a very direct connection to Harry Burt. The Tyler Mahoning Valley History Center is in the building that he bought and developed into his primary retail store and candy and ice cream factory. And then his mother, Harry was born up in Trumbull County, near where Cortland is now in Bezetta Township, and his mother lived there. We don't know much about his father. We think that was a tragic situation in terms of not being there.
I think the mausoleums are like my favorite thing in here.
Yes.
Because like the whole family could go in, 5 or 6 crypts, right?
That's right, yeah.
And this is beautiful, this one, the Pollock.
Yes, what's unique about this one, there's many here, many different styles, but as far as funerary architecture is concerned, what better period to go back to than the ancient Egyptians? Yes. And that's what we have here for the William B. Pollock family mausoleum. Just a great example of, shall we say, neo-Egyptian architecture, where you have the whole mausoleum is tapered upward. You have these wonderful tapered columns in the front with the reeds and flowers decorating it, and then the Egyptian god symbol across the header there. Well, this area on top of the hill around the flagpole is all burials of Civil War veterans. And so the Todd Post actually set aside and purchased all these plots for their members to be buried in. And so you can see most of them have military U.S. government issue markers on them. And what's also interesting is some of them go back to their death date, the 19th or early 20th century, and some people were buried here actually who didn't get markers, who were mostly African Americans. And so Stefan Jones, many years ago, started researching who these people were and applied to the Department of Defense and actually got government monuments for those soldiers that are buried here as well.
I like this part of the cemetery. It seems to be more even and level, and
yes,
look at all these markers.
Right, and you got another vista looking down into the hollow and up on the other side. This is a very interesting place. It's called the Circle, and you have this natural knob sitting on top of this hill here. And at one time there was a drive that went all the way around it. You can still see how it was cut out for the drive, and actually this place has some curbing for it as well. Looking out from beyond the knob, there's right against the wall there, all those burials which are in a row. That's called the Youngstown Township section. Now, there was a Youngstown Township from 1800 till about 1913 when the city of Youngstown incorporated all the land in the township. But prior to that, the township and the trustees were responsible for providing a burial place for residents, actually burying indigent people, taking care of that. And so that cemetery used to be located downtown. Now, as downtown grew into a city, they wanted to use that land for other development, so they began in the 1860s moving burials to here, and also all the burials for the township were done here from that point on. The only problem they had, and this is a little macabre.
Always a problem.
Always a problem. But when they started digging the foundations for these buildings on the old cemetery site, they soon realized they didn't get all the bodies out. And so they came across graves and they had to stop construction, bring the cemetery crew over and very carefully remove the bones and other things and bring them out here and rebury them.
So this is the highest point here in the cemetery.
Yes.
And this is where Governor Todd and his family are buried.
That's correct. This monument was erected after Governor David Todd passed away in 1868. And it's right on the northern edge of the cemetery. And because it's a knob, you would have had a great view of downtown.
This is one of your favorite monuments.
This is my all-time favorite. There's no comparison to it.
It's going to be my favorite too.
Yes.
I love it.
Well, it's a pink granite monument in 3 pieces. It's rough cut in the bottom, but when you get to the main part, it becomes much more finished cut. And then the cross form, the cruciform in it, is polished. So on the back here, you have a maker's mark, and it says copyright 1911, Tiffany Studios, New York.
I mean, really? Is that the way to go? Tiffany's? So this is where Olive Arms is buried?
She and her husband Wilford are buried here. Her parents, Charles and Hannah Arms, are buried here. And her sister and husband, that would be Catherine Arms and Alfred Rice, and then another sister, Carolyn, who never married, are all in this mausoleum.
I love this. I mean, they're really, really beautiful.
Yes.
We're coming upon your annual tour. So October 26th?
Yes, Saturday, October 26th, we will do our annual Oak Hill Cemetery walking tour. This is part of our History to Go series. The number is 330-743-2589, or we'll have something set up on our website, mahoninghistory.org, to help people get set up to come out here. Hopefully it'll be a good weather day like today.
Yeah, today's
but I'll tell you
beautiful.
what, we've been out here in a steady rain and we still get 100 plus people. So
I highly,
rain or shine.
highly recommend it.